Kim Jong-un, leader of the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea, has earned many titles throughout his career. In North Korean media publications, he's most commonly referred to as Respected Comrade, or even Dear Respected Comrade. Such titles are bestowed by the North Korean parliament and are intended to reflect the great love and respect the glorious dictator has earned from his adoring subjects. But on the 23rd of September 2017, President Donald Trump bestowed the great leader with a new appellation, Little Rocket Man. Though intended as an insult to North Korea's questionably effective nuclear arsenal, Trump likely lacked the context to understand how accurate this title was in a different context, as North Korea has one of the largest stockpiles of little rockets, aka multiple launch rocket systems, also known as MLRS, in the whole world. The subject of today's video will be the most ubiquitous launch platform for these rockets, the Sungri-61NA military truck, which is commonly seen mounting the Type 63 107mm MRL. The Sungri-61NA is an incredibly common sight in North Korea's arsenal, having been produced in great numbers since the early 1980s. The truck was named after the Sungri motor plant that created, read blatantly stole, the design in the late 1950s, and remains North Korea's most prolific truck manufacturer to this day. Sungri's first truck was the Sungri-58, an inferior clone of the original Soviet Gaz-51 truck from all the way back in 1946. This was followed by the Sungri-61, which continued the trend by being a ripoff of the Gaz-63, a 4x4 version of the Gaz-51. A decade of innovation was required to reach the Sungri-61NA, which finally demonstrated a significant evolution from Soviet designs in the form of a new cabin, engine hood, and, according to some sources, increased load-bearing capacity. In its current state, the Sungri-61NA has a length of 5.7 meters, or 18.7 feet, a width of 2.3 meters, or 7.5 feet, and a power plant that is almost certainly either a direct copy or analogous to the Gaz-11 six-cylinder petrol engine, which produces 70 horsepower at 2,800 RPM. The vehicle's top speed is probably around 70 miles per hour, or 112.6 kilometers per hour, and there's no armor protection to speak of. The weight is estimated at 2.5 tons, with a payload of 2.7 tons. It's important to note that, like virtually all North Korean vehicles, these specifications are based on observation and comparison to the original designs only. Inside the Sungri's cabin, there is room for 2 crew members, a driver and a commander. The flatbed cargo space can be occupied by an additional 4 crewmen, responsible for loading and operating the 107mm or 4.2-inch Type 63 MRL. This is an imported MLRS from the People's Republic of China, and features 3 rows of 4 launchers, which are normally mounted on a 2-wheeled split-trail carriage. The decision to separate the Type 63 from its towed carriage in order to mount it on the flatbed of a truck seems to have been one inspired by the immense hardships suffered by the North Korean regime during the 1990s. The collapse of the Soviet Union marked a stark downturn in the North Korean economy as aid and subsidies from the international communist bloc slowed to a trickle or outright evaporated. As internal productivity collapsed, Kim Jong-il remained adamant on prioritizing military spending over everything else, leading to famines across the nation. Grossly short on all resources, the North Korean army resorted to as many cost-cutting measures as possible, and one of these was apparently to combine the Type 63 MRL with the chassis of the Sungri-61NA to create a cheap, self-propelled artillery platform using old, proven technology. Though clearly an act of desperation, the shotgun wedding between the Type 63 and the Sungri-61NA ultimately turned out to be a happy and productive union that endures to this day. The 18.8 kilogram or 41-pound rockets fired by the system have a maximum range of 8 kilometers or 4.97 miles, and carry a warhead filled with 1.3 kilograms or 2.8 pounds of TNT. Though individually the rockets have minimal destructive capacity, they can be spammed in mass saturation bombardments, making for a formidable weapon against massed infantry assaults and lightly armored targets. The lack of a sophisticated guidance system is also something of an asset, as it makes the rockets impossible to jam or confuse with electronic warfare systems that are becoming increasingly common on modern battlefields. Adapting the Type 63 to the Sungri chassis was a fairly simple task for North Korean engineers, but the added weight of the launcher and ammunition necessitated the addition of double rear wheels for extra traction and reduced ground pressure. The rear of the truck also features collapsible fenders, and for some reason or another, vehicles fitted with an MLRS system have rounded headlights instead of square ones found on unmodified variants. It is unknown if this is a modification of specific Sungri trucks mounting a Type 63, or if the particular batch of trucks that ended up being turned into missile platforms just happened to use square headlights. Such are the mysteries of North Korean armor. A major advantage to using the Sungri-61NA as a platform for the Type 63 is that the small size of the launcher allows a full reload worth of additional rockets to be stowed in the extra space left over after installing the launcher. In theory, this allows the truck to either bombard the same target twice in a row or hit two separate targets before needing to withdraw and reload. However, the practicality of this extra ammunition is debatable, as it is unlikely the Sungri will survive long enough to make use of it in anything less than perfect conditions. Indeed, a lack of survivability is the biggest factor working against the platform. Without anything beyond their faith in the eternal president to protect them, the crew of the Sungri-61NA need to be constantly alert to dangers of all kinds, from missiles to small arms fire and even men with pointy sticks. But what the Sungri missile platform lacks in survivability, it makes up for in numbers, not that this is any comfort for its crew members. As one of the most frequently photographed KPA vehicles, the system operates at a regimental level, and dozens if not hundreds would likely be seen in any major battle on Korean soil. Though not exactly known for their tactical genius, North Korean officers have certainly been trained to treat the vehicle as a highly mobile short-range artillery support unit, to be deployed en masse to break enemy resistance with enormous volleys of munitions before screeching away at top speed to reload and redeploy. Of course, there are many feasible counters to such vehicles, and the North Koreans are clearly aware of at least some of these. In recent years, MRLS-mounted Sungri-61NAs have been spotted at military parades sporting additional launchers, this time for the IGLA man-pads, Man-Portable Air Defense System. This is not unusual, as the KPA has a fixation with sticking IGLAs anywhere they will fit on their vehicles, but fairly useless given the kind of engagements the truck would be used for. Strike aircraft the KPA will encounter during a war probably have individual munitions worth more than the truck and launcher combined, and are unlikely to engage it in a way that will give it any chance to demonstrate its anti-air capabilities. On the other hand, there's also evidence that the manpad systems mounted on vehicles like the Sungri-61NA are only present during parades or military exercises designed to impress the public. This harks back to classic Soviet-era propaganda tactics and may actually be a more efficient use of the equipment than on the battlefield. Though it has been the workhorse of the KPA's Little Rocket Force for a good 30 years at this point, the 107mm MRL is definitely showing its age, and even the resource-starved North Koreans have been trying to replace it with more modern weapons. In the last decade or so, the KPA has embarked on a broad modernization program that has seen the introduction of the vastly more powerful 300mm or 11.8-inch KN-09 MLRS to its arsenal, alongside numerous major upgrades to older 240mm or 9.4-inch and 122mm or 4.8-inch rocket systems. The Type 63, meanwhile, has very limited upgrade potential due to its small size and simplicity, and as a result, it's unlikely we will be seeing a modernization of the 107mm system anytime soon. In summary, the Sungri-61NA 107mm MRL is something of an unsung warhorse for the KPA. While not large, advanced, or even visually impressive, the little truck is still a great example of how old and reliable technology can retain niche relevancy decades after it has been made obsolete elsewhere. Though it is obvious the vehicle would be destroyed by the dozen in any conflict, the sheer number available to deploy still represents a significant threat on the battlefield. As recent conflicts in Ukraine and Lebanon have demonstrated, sometimes the simplest weapon system is more useful than the most advanced option available, especially if it can move fast, hit hard, and be quickly replaced if lost in action. This concludes our look at North Korea's little rocket truck, and that means we pass the conversation on to you, our viewers. Do you think the Sungri-61NA MLRS truck can be upgraded in any meaningful way? Is the manpad system just for parades, or do you think it will be used in actual combat? Feel free to give your answers in the comments below, and don't forget to check out our article on this vehicle over on the Tank Encyclopedia website. If you haven't done so already, we invite you to subscribe to stay updated on future content. If you'd like to contribute further, consider supporting us on Patreon or PayPal. We want to especially thank our medium and heavy tank Patreon supporters: Alex Harvey, Andrew Oberg, Dan Fitzpatrick, Dave Schuford, Gustavo Sanchez, Joe, Leslie Hochauer, Owen M., Peter Bradbury, The Sasquatch, and Why Do You Care? Your generous contributions help fund our research, illustrations, and video production. Until next time, keep us in your sights.